Alright, kind of a response video, I think, to the Modern Mystic. Nick, more direct anyway. We've been kind of talking into a bucket together, but I think I'll be a little more pointed. Yeah, so I can go along with this whole thing, like, your brain gets, I was almost thinking like it's all like muscle memory. Like, you learn how to walk, you learn how to juggle, you learn how to do a certain thing, and you acquire a muscle memory that is that thing. And just basically turn it on. I mean, I still do some things, but, like catching a baseball, and you might learn some tricks, and they become automatic. You don't even have to think about it. And so, yeah, our brain, I think, just does the same thing with common words that we use a lot, are words that are explicitly something. We just have an automatic reflex that sort of runs on those words. And it's modified through time and improved and made more and more concise and clean and all of that crap. Alright, so, but on this last video, you're back to sort of implying like it's all just a reaction, I think we still have to account for this bizarre circumstance of consciousness, of this sense of, that is so powerful. I mean, I just don't think a paramecium's doing it on any level. I don't think just because it's a nerve cell, it feels. It has to be coherent. And what makes it coherent, it takes this more elaborate consciousness that does this learning thing. So I think it is this feedback thing is the important word. Feedback. We can say that one over and over again. But I think that has something to do with the phenomenon of, whoa, I'm awake. Because now my brain is feedbacking, and it's using this conscious plane to do it's the bucket that keeps everything keeps going through, or the funnel, the mouth of your your mind. And most organisms don't have a mouth. It takes a lot of brain to build a mouth, let's say, or whatever, however you want to metaphor it. Because an ouch without a brain to think about what the ouch means, that it has to do something about it, is really pointless. There's no point in feeling without having a brain that can calculate a response to the feeling. So I've sort of metaphored it as that we have two brains. We have one that creates the motivating sensation, and one that sits back and looks at the motivating sensation and says, what do I do about this? I'm both hungry and afraid. I've used this one before, so I really, I think it has to be accounted for, and I just don't see you accounting for it very well. I don't think it's good enough just to say, somebody shows us Apple, we hear Apple, we see Apple, we experience Apple, now we're Apple. It's just not good enough. Because most things in life don't come as just let's play the naming game. We experience them, we feel them. Something happens to us while we're involved with them. And we certainly are doing that as we are living with our hunger and our appetite. There's just no, you have to somehow put that in there. Like, it's not just Apple, it's Apple and I'm hungry, and it smells good, or it looks good. It's just more complicated than Apple. So anyway, this feeling thing is, I think it'd be hard to synthesize. I mean, I think, obviously we're a container. I mean, our brain is just full of matter. It's just little molecules and atoms buzzing about. So one would say, yes, we should be able to synthesize it and duplicate it. But I don't know if you can do it in some other form, in some other medium. I just don't think it's a manifestation of merely programming, merely electricity. There's a catch here somehow. There's something going on. It seems to me would have to be accounted for some other way. And I think that's sort of why they've been a little slow coming up with really good artificial intelligence, is because they can't figure out how to create this noise maker of sensation, of feeling. It doesn't obey digital rules. And it's hard to imagine how you would synthesize it, because it isn't a requirement. It doesn't demand that you do something, but it sort of does. I mean, in some circumstances, we feel pretty intense. But that's sort of the funny part, is our reflexes sometimes react to something before we even feel any sensation or any pain, especially with our eyes. Our eyes are really good at that. And sometimes the pain later is just a punishment, basically. Just lets you know, don't let that happen again, asshole, because it hurts. Maybe it hurts 4.2 seconds later, but it's going to hurt. Some things hurt a day later, like most, slicing injuries usually don't hurt. They usually hurt the worst the next day. But anyway, so where do I want to go with this? But it's hard to think of how you would synthesize something that sort of says you must, but it doesn't say you must. It says it's sort of important, but not critically important, like hunger. It can be our desire or horny or whatever the thing is. These can be rather intense feelings, but there are completely ignorable in the sense that you can not choose. The brain can choose to do nothing, to, accept the burden of it. But in doing so, it will endure a pain, a hardship. It's like holding a really heavy weight. How would you calculate that in a computer? How would you create a synthetic digital representation of I got it, and then you just fail. That's really, it's hard to imagine that, because it's this idea that you have to endure this shouting of the stop, or shouting of the don't do that, or the whatever it's saying, but it's saying it like it is an order, but it's not an order. You can disobey the desire, you can disobey the fear, you can disobey whatever emotion we feel. It can be endured rather than reacted to, or rather than complied with, if that's the right word. And but like I said, it's pretty hard to figure out how you would synthesize that in a software program, because it's like I say, I'll repeat myself 3 times or even 4. It's sort of saying you must, but it's not a must. And how you would create the balance that would create the contrary mechanism that says, no, I'm going to endure it. But then the failure still has to be in there somehow. Somehow the mind is willing, but the body is weak, or however that goes. And that's just a practical circumstance. So I'm just saying, it's a little bit of it's a little more complicated, I think, to duplicate what consciousness is in some merely reflexive diagram. It is just reflexes, but they do use this mechanism of sensation, which isn't knee-jerk, which isn't all or nothing. It's squeaking. It's like, instead of doing a beep or a boop, it's squeaking. It's doing something in between the digital signals. It's on the cusp of yes and no, and it has neither. It's neither one. It's like somehow it's squeezing in between where there is no in between. Yeah, maybe that's a good way to put it. Yeah, and so I'm just saying it has to sort of be accounted for, I think. I don't think you can just say, yeah, we're just automatons, blah, blah, blah. It's all mechanical, blah, blah, blah. Because there are mechanical life forms that demonstrate this. What to me is obvious. They demonstrate a lack of this consciousness thing. there's no internal battle deciding what their behavior will be. There's no combining of experiences and emotions and all this other crap that'll decide their will. Their will be decided because the sense says go, or the condition triggers it. It will be a crude, hard reflex. The three necessary conditions will exist. It will go. There won't be any inhibitor, like an emotional inhibitor, a feeling inhibitor. Inhibit's a good word. That's one to mess with, because that's sort of how we exist in this. The digital signals are being inhibited. They're being perverted and distorted and suppressed and changed by this mechanism we call consciousness. But again, I'm going to sort of argue, I guess, that I think it needs the biology, whatever's going on inside our brain, whatever the minimum necessary parts are. That would be the interesting thing to find out. What are the minimum necessary bits of brain required to sustain consciousness? The ability to go, ouch. Yeah, that'll be curious to see if there really is some little thing deep in the brain, and you just push it, and it's a sensor. It does all it manufactures all of that analog noise of all emotion and all degrees of it. I'd probably further speculate that there really isn't that many ingredients. There might be like 3 primary colors that all emotions are built out of. This, bitter, sweet, sour. Like there's these 3 tastes or something, and everything's made out of a combination of those 3 types or bits of emotional character. So it'd be like some sort of repulsive sense, and some sort of pain sense, and some sort of pleasure or release or satisfaction through release sensation. But that one might be the catch. The satisfaction might be the non-existent one. It will be the absence of sensation. And all sensation is basically negative. That could be the cruel reality, is that everything's made out of the negative. And it's only when you extract the negative, extract the worry, extract the tension, extract the subtle discomforts, that you gain this thing called pleasure or satisfaction. That they are in fact nothing but the removal of burden, the removal of the gravity of burden. The drudgery, the weight gets lifted, and that creates the satisfaction. But satisfaction itself has no reality. It's just the removal of that thorn, the removal of the negative emotional harassment of the little harassment organ inside of our brain. The little organ that says go, do, move. It creates the necessity. And it's when that necessity is eliminated that we gain satisfaction. Yeah, that isn't too bad. Yeah, we're just kind of doing this, on the cuff or whatever, on the hoof, whatever. So yeah, probably needs clarifying in paper and drawings and such. Yeah, and I just kind of want to get. I thought the base camp was just going to be built more out of something simpler. Because this brain stuff's a little complicated for base camp. I think the idea that it's a DNA molecule reproducing is the important base camp concept, and the implications of unintelligent design, and the fact that it is a chase game, purely contrived. There's no need for the game. There's no need for the chase. It just has to do with the agenda of the molecule. how is it going to get into the future? Well, though it gets into the future by creating this mechanism of chase. We chase the future. So, now it's enough of a video. Ooh, sorry, hot. Bug. Yeah, that wasn't much fun. I hope he isn't all the way in there. I don't sense him. I think I ejected him proper. So anyway, until the next time and such. Hopefully no bug incidents. Oh, it's peaceful here. Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's good. Oh, I did hit the button.